Okay, get us started. Morning, Mojo. How you doing? My PC restarted itself and everything shut down. I have a tendency lately of letting it go to sleep rather than shutting it full down. Because I have so much stuff running that it's an absolute pain to get it started up. Oh dear. I don't need a Sky Draw specifically right this second. Kafka won't start it cleanly. I need to do the learning on that to understand how to make sure things start up properly. Uh, what's that one? SQL data. Oh yeah, I don't need CLI and server style. That's fine. And Mongo. Okay. Brain hurts from trying to get the WOPI protocol working for this Excel integration. Ugh. Integrating with Excel. What is forcing you to do that? Our name is Excel preparation. Okay. Building a business around Excel. I'm also saying, hey, Microsoft, send me the iPhone of Excel. Yeah. I'm I, I think I've been relatively lucky in my career in that I've not had to do much integration stuff. Um, I have had to do Salesforce integration, but that's uh, bare minimum, just kind of linking out to and retrieving Salesforce stuff. So really simple API stuff. Um, Although I did have to do that in VB6, so challenging. Um, Protocol wise, when I was um, when I was just a kid. Well, when I was early on, I was working in Basic, and I had to. We got a new printer, and I had to go home and understand. I had to read the book on the protocols that it used, and the learn the language so I could produce reports off this printer. But I had to write the program in Basic. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. How's it going? But I haven't had to do a lot of that stuff, especially more recently. Okay. So today I'm going to focus very much on getting these events to come out of here. So what I've got working so far um, is um, I've got the changes component receiving the event. So basically what happens is, so I broke these out rather than comment these, I broke these out into methods just to try and start organizing the configuration structure a little bit. I think I might put these somewhere else. Um, but basically I configure Akka, so I've got these actors configured. Um, this bugs me, but I'll figure out some better patterns later on. I configure Mongo and I configure Kafka components. I actually did validate that repositories does work with the Mongo piece as well. So it's nice because I can just do that. I can say, okay, go and get me the first document by tenant and identifier. Apparently, WAPI is used by most Microsoft products to display pull Excel, Word. I think I heard that Notion used it too. Yeah, I mean, it's an interface, right? So, yeah. So, Astrid, good morning or good day. Hope you're well. If you haven't been to Social doesn't often get the chance to come in here, but if you haven't been to her stream, she's building an awesome looking game, which I would highly recommend checking out. Um, all good. So it is an awesome looking game. So the process that I'm trying to get through here is I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in terms of um, publishing. Um, Morning, Delta. How are you doing? So again, oh, everything restarted. Everything restarted. What's the tool that I was using? Not Notion. What's the other tool? Going a blank. Obsidian. Thank you. Yes, I think that's going to get pinned to my desktop. I have too many things to remember, and I'm old. Let's check on that. Community plugins. Check for updates. Update. There you go. I'm liking it. I'm enjoying the idea of keeping everything together as well. So having Excalibur in here, I'm starting to put some, here's how I'm going to do an API endpoint. I'm starting to actually do some of the documentation, what stories, how stories should be worked out, etc. Obsidian is very cool. I use it for everything. So fun fact: if you go in BBB stream and Mr. Jones lets comments like that slip, you can actually time him out for 5 minutes. Um, am I older or younger? Much older. Okay, so the changes flow. Ultimately, I'm going to consume a topic. I'm going to check if the entity exists. If it does, then I'm going to compare the stored version and I'm going to produce a stream of changes. If it doesn't, I'm going to store it and then I'm going to produce a stream that is now. Um, it's fine. I think, to be honest, there's so much PHP out there that most of it is people who have kind of learned and struggled and followed some very bad practices. And what it's ended up with is a language that is associated with the way that people use it. So people who are PHP developers um, that I've met that are good developers tend to defend it and be like, well, no, this isn't the way it's normally done. But the challenge is there's that much PHP out there. Um, wait, I'm barely older. Yeah. So if you look at PHP 8, it is a very different language and has a lot more capabilities than um, yeah. And that's the thing. It was a gateway into development for a lot of people. It's still a capable language, right? There's still all the features we have in C sharp, all the language structures we have in C sharp are there. The features, the frameworks, etc., built around it aren't as extensive. I don't feel. But again, I'm not in that ecosystem normally. Um, and yes, my job is in PHP, but I'm also not making architectural decisions. I'm not planning out software with it. So I'm working on whatever's there. So I don't get to see the greater ecosystem. So, but I think it does get a bad rap. Um, that being said, it still is very much that older school, the language and the UI, etc. That the coding and the UI kind of there's no uh clean separation there. So yeah, okay. So I'm trying to make strides in documenting things and documenting the way the system was. So I'm liking Obsidian. Um, yeah. That being said, what I'm trying to do today is I'm trying to implement this piece, right? So I'm trying to say, okay, well, I've got the message coming from Kafka and from the API to say the entity was integrated, and now I'm going to calculate the changes. And that's going to be the hard part, right? So in this instance, this is the easy one, right? The publishing new actor. So I get in here, I check to see if it exists again. So until I get more comfortable with Akka in general, I think this is going to be a pattern I'm going to keep doing, especially with these pieces where I'm going to say, okay, well, I know I've been told to create this thing, but let's just check it is actually there. Because you know, this is the entity is new, so therefore I shouldn't have it. If it's not null, I already have it in the store, in the repository, then I clearly am not publishing it for the first time because I've already got it. So yeah. Um, so this publisher I'm planning will do um um no, that is meant to be a I do mean that to be an event message. What I was thinking about yesterday, I actually got on a roll and I got a load of code written in a very short amount of time, and then I had to stop and do other things, so I'm kind of distracted. But what I'm trying to do is create like a wrapper that will, put this into a publisher. Um, Publish event message, publish new. So my idea is I'm rather than worrying about this, I'm going to publish the thing. The challenge is I'm going to end up loading this thing. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, no, no. Publish event message. I don't think that's I don't think that's what I want to do. Um, Publish changes actor. Um, I think this is a receive actor. It takes. I don't think this should take. This shouldn't have to rely upon loading the querying the database again. So I think this is fine. I am going to have to do receive async again for right this second, and I'm going to receive public class publish changes publish message. What I'm considering is kind of self-containing these because each one's going to be slightly different. And well, each one, I say I've only got planning items right this second. Once I get to the second item, I'll start to see a pattern. So I'm not trying to overthink it. I'm trying not to overthink it too much. Because what this publish message is going to be is public bool is new. Otherwise, it's going to be public string. Uh, Actually, is that relying? Hold on. It's fine. I can infer changes, but document it out without actually writing in his new method and setting it. So this is going to be a publish message. And what's this going to do? Async message. You're completely wrong there, Aka, but never mind. So what I do need in here, oh, that's where I was going yesterday. Okay, I was going to the, I need the event publisher, event publisher. Oh, that's what I was doing. Ever see stuff like this? Let's have a look. S-driven design for SQL Server. Wow. Is that a package you install? I don't think I like it, but I haven't tried it. Been around for a while. It's on SourceForge. I don't think anyone puts anything up on SourceForge anymore, do they? So actually, this reminds me. Deflux kind of yeah. I mean, it looks like a package, which because it's this um the challenge there is I don't think you can install packages. Can you install packages on all versions of SQL? I don't know. Maybe you can now. But so Deflux was mentioning something about store procs and stuff, and like database full of store procs. And I don't like store procs because they are the the problem they present is that you end up with all your logic in the database. From a development perspective, databases are harder to change, harder to track. So it worries me. Oh, nice. So I installed Serybot, SERY_BOT. I added Serybot. Serybot's actually a channel you can go and set up. And I just got one of those cheap viewers and it instantly banned them. So if you share ban lists, that helps other people because it means that they can't actually post anything in there. So instantly banned. It's awesome. Okay, so yeah, so I don't like the idea. I'm sure you get offers of cheap viewers all the time. Um, they are a scourge. A scourge? That's not the word I mean, is it? Scourge? Scourge. A source of widespread dreadful affliction and devastation. Scourge. Scourge, that's the word. Um, yes, sorry. SQL, don't put in store props in your database for your business functionality is obviously quicker, but um, they are harder to track and harder to understand business rules, etc. So unless you're comfortable with SQL, which a lot of developers aren't, so it's a balance. So if you're clearly invested in having your logic inside your database, then yeah, having a testable SQL makes sense. Okay. They've been awfully quiet of late. I'm bracing for the incoming storm. I got a bot follow on Saturday of 999 bots, 999 things. That's why I installed Cerebot finally. I'm like, I've got to do something so that if that happens, it just, yeah. I removed them, but it was horrible. Although I did have a bot yesterday being all polite asking me if we wanted to connect to Discord. They're evolving, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had anyone try to sell me artwork or um stream overlays in a long while. And considering the way my stream looks, it's kind of needed. I have thoughts on that as well. Um, okay, so I need to publish changes, but to do the event publisher, to do it effectively, I need an outbox, right? Because I need resilience in this process. So I need to add an outbox. But hold on, I'm using Mongo in this instance. So do I want to introduce a SQL Server database just to back up changes? Um, well, no, that would be bad because I'm going to use Mongo for this because, and again, I'm using Mongo because I don't want to have relational database for something that I'm just taking an object out, comparing it, and putting a set of changes against that object out. That's all I care about. So, um, brain blank. So, I need to use Mongo for my changes as well. So I need to introduce a new extension for my Kafka library that is an outbox for Mongo. So that's what we're going to do first. Shouldn't be too long. Oh, why did I say that? You're telling me the only addition to mine is a pair of googly eyes. I think I want to do some like overlay work. I don't do social media, so it will be useless. But things like GitHub and promote the fact there is a GitHub and maybe some lower thirds to kind of talk about what I'm doing, so they can the current project is kind of displayed on the screen. Um, but that would require me to do a lot of off topic development, and this stuff fascinates me more. So okay, so we're gonna have a model. I might actually start to see a pattern here. Migrations. We don't need migrations because we're not using that. I am going to use context, right? Um, uh, Outbox DB context, CS. And it'll look exactly the same. It's the configuration is different. I don't want to assume that the code is identical at this point. I just want to sounds good, yeah, but I feel like Doing that takes a lot of time off the project you want to be doing. Yeah, and it's why I don't invest a lot of time in my bot, or I don't do that sort of stuff, because it's not that I don't want to do it. I think that people coming into the stream like the entertainment value. Um, Not my entertainment value. I mean, generally people coming into streams, they enjoy entertainment as well as, maybe the content. Hopefully the content. Um, but I think having a bit more interactivity or a little bit more visuals can help people in coming into the stream. So yeah. Okay, so let's copy all this in and see what is going to be the exact same. So extensions. So go here. Outbox configuration builder is a regular outbox piece. That is a SQL Server specific piece. That's fine. Configure outbox DB context. That's private because I do it here, here. That's the same. Um, Actually, we're going to change this up a little bit and transition. So we need a MongoDB outbox, and that is a iMessage outbox. Okay. The annoying thing here is, right, so the MongoDB, because I've got the entity framework style um, um, of code, the MongoDB and SQL Server versions are actually very close. So ultimately, what I probably could do is create a SQL or an entity framework based outbox that then if I wanted to introduce the other database stuff, then it's not just repetitive copy paste, etc. But there's a basis for it. But right now, I'm going to hold off on doing that until I know that that exists, because there might be subtle differences once I get to behavior. If I start to work on the let's combine the two, make them generic and treat them that way, then I'm going to get in a mess, because I'm going to end up with uh, when there are differences, I'm going to hack code in there to make it work. So let's keep them distinct right now, even if it's a copy and paste job, but understand that ultimately there might be a SQL basis of this that I can actually create an extra library for, an extra uh, project for. It doesn't necessarily need to be published, but it will do that. Well, also just noticed a stream title. Congrats on the 100. Yeah, I'm using the playlist that I created as the measure, and I think it's very accurate. But yeah, 100 days of doing this on stream. Um, this project is now almost a year old. Last one. How about this library? It needs to be the last one, Delta. You don't have to worry about. um, no. Why did that? Oh, because I copied. Managed to copy what you typed in. Data diff test. Interesting. If I could grab all previous creations in DB before a release candidate and then test them against a new one. That's a lot of work in a big moving window. But I can see why you want to validate that any calculations are not differing, that they're producing the same data as they were. It's a good integration test. Yeah. Hi Sally, how you doing? There are so many companies in Denmark using .NET, Azure, etc. in Denmark, so I'm trying to get really good at it to see whether I like it as well. Have you enjoyed working with it? I mean, .NET, I love it. I've built a career around it, right? Um, it's something that is I, do I think that it's perfect? No, I don't think any language or set of frameworks are perfect. I think that .NET for me provides the tools to go into anything I want to do and work in it. Right. So I can stay in my language of C sharp and I can work in games. I can work in uh, uh, cloud stuff. I can work on databases. I can work in high performance stuff if I need to. Um, this distributed system stuff is fun. So yeah, in a primarily .NET community. I mean, yeah, I mean my stream is built around .NET, so most of the people. But yeah, I would say it's definitely worth investing the time. And if nothing else, Sally, then you will at least have access to um all the modern frameworks and design decisions that come with it. So if you're learning .NET now and you're getting into .NET, if you're doing web app development, you're in modern techniques anyway, and they transition. And there's similarities between all these things. Um, I mean, I don't think there's a downside. Yeah, yeah, the skills transfer. It's not like everything. Um, I was asked yesterday if I was worried about my like because obviously I'm working in PHP as a job right now. Um, the being that I'm primarily .NET focused, do I think that gives me that makes me not as good a PHP developer? Well, no, because the skills are transferred, right? I still know how to write code. I still know what good code looks like. I might not always write good code, but I still know what it looks like. And um, I think it's important to I don't think it's necessarily important to keep your options open as such, but I do think you can benefit from having uh, experienced other things. So okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm literally going to copy this in, um, actually from this part down, rather than worry about it being perfect. Okay, so we don't need that in this instance. Um, I wonder if I can use DB Context Factory with Mongo. What does that look like? Because essentially I want to do that, right? So this outbox message content, this doesn't need to be a string now. This can be an object, right? That could be the event body, right? So there are already differences. I was watching your mediator video again the other day. It's so good. Love your style of teaching. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the compliment there. I'm glad to hear that. If there's other, by the way, this goes out generally. I don't like just making content based upon what I feel. I'm not trying to chase an algorithm. I'm not trying to chase becoming a YouTube megastar, right? What I care about is producing content that people want. So if there's things that I know about or things that you hear me talk about that you feel that I could produce content that would help you, I am happy to try and produce something that is specific to someone's um, uh, goals, assuming I understand that thing, right? It's not like you're gonna say, "Oh, could you make a video on doing AI stuff?" That's not my area of expertise, right? So the amount of studying I'd have to do on that. But if it's stuff you see on stream, if it's techniques or tools I'm using that you would like to learn more about, I am happy to try and produce content based around those things for the community, so that I'm not just building videos because I think that they'll do well algorithmically. I'm doing content that people actually are asking for. Uh, do you use SQL Server data tools? SQL Server data tools is in just Management Studio. What do you mean specifically by that, Dota? Okay. This is gonna be chasing a lot of different things all over the place here. This is on MongoDB, MongoDB outbox. Uh, it's a site development tool for building SQL Server databases. I think I've used that before specifically. I don't think I've used that before. Maybe it's the same thing. So when it comes to SQL Server stuff, again, it's I don't like the database is how do I put it? It's an end that justifies the means essentially, right? Which is why I'm probably not all in on using SQL Server. I'm not all in on using any particular technology because I just think that finding the right one that fits the task you do. Why do you need to update now? Why does my database thing need to update now? JetBrains, if you do one thing, figure out how to do updates without restarts. Because these plugins need to update pretty much hourly, I swear. Um, yeah, so using the right tool for the job. I mean, for me, again, Data Grip is a good tool for this job because I can actually work in Mongo and in SQL Server now. Um, that's nice of you. Going to let you know if there's something. Yeah, that's exactly why I ask because it's I want to make sure that people understand that I don't make a lot of YouTube content not through lack of wanting to, it's through I'm just not interested in chasing an algorithm. Have you seen that clip from Space Force of Windows Update? Don't think so. Updates, updates. I mean, I'm not going to worry about restarting my database IDE because my GitHub Copilot. It, that's because the IDEs share plugins. I have them synced, so they're sharing plugins that they have in common, and yeah, it's how many times have I clicked that now? It doesn't seem to want to start, does it? Okay. Let's have a look. What am I missing? I'm missing several things. Infrastructure. Let's copy that in. Add that. Refactor that. Adjust namespaces. Actually, I should probably do that on the entire thing just in case I've. Yep, I had done. Connection string. Awesome. Uh, so this is rename this overload. Oh, use SQL Server Outbox. Use Mongo DB Outbox. configure Kafka MongoDB outputs. Actually, I don't need to do that in this case. That doesn't need that. This is why I didn't go and try and make a generic version from the beginning. There is a swear word. Yeah. Sorry. I'm not playing it on stream, but okay. There's a few swear words in there. I'm glad I didn't play that on stream. That is extremely funny. I started watching that show and I never got into it, so maybe it's actually worth watching. That's the right type of comedy. Oh dear. Okay. So post async. I just need the event. Build outbox message. Event is message that event body. So the reason I'm able to do this is because the object should get serialized out to Mongo, right? When I do event body, and when I pull it back in, I'm going to invoke it with the right type anyway. MongoDB outbox message. So yeah, the event is typed anyway there. That's genius, that video. Hi, MongoDB outbox output message, outbox message. Actually, I probably don't need it that way. And that should be an object ID, probably. Um, anyway, off to work. Have a great day, Delta. See you soon. Okay. So the next challenge is the context. Can I use a factory? I don't know. So IDB context factory of outbox DB context factory. That makes that compile. Hey, Full Stumble, how you doing? That makes that compile. Doesn't make it perfect, but it makes it compile. We don't need migrations. We do need a configuration. So this is going to be slightly different in that this is going to do outbox message content. Let's do the refactoring there. With our style of naming. I probably do need to do actually. Let's change this up before I get too far down there, rather than putting it off. MongoDB naming conventions. Best practices. I don't like that when the provider or the maintainer isn't the one outlining the conventions. Collections should tell the detail of what kind of data they hold, so give descriptive names. Okay. MongoDB prefers lowercase collection names. Star guide. There you go. Punctuation, referencing. That's there. So it's actually a style. The version of the document is archived and no longer supported. It's actually a style guide for the documentation. I'm deep into routed events in Avalonia now for reasons. So the reason I say that I don't trust anything beyond the actual provider is because if the provider isn't dictating that, that means that this is a an opinion, right? So always try to using some separator. So my style of the hyphens, as long as I'm consistent, um, manual Microsoft manual style, yeah. Um, as long as I'm consistent, I should be good. Mr. Anhorn, 58 months. Welcome in. Good morning. How's it going? That's crazy. 58 months. Thank you. Okay, so essentially, my MongoDB library should now work. So now we test with a sample program. So this is, what's that convention I use there? Outbox or DB stuff. This relies upon not to bore with all the I have to find a new front end. Oh no, what happened? That's quite a lot of, oh dear. Console application. We're going to CS. Let's see if we do it right the first time. Bateman was too good for him to pass up while still working in this. Wow. Uh, yeah, that's that's a tough one. I mean the saying that I assume that you are um going to feel that loss. At first, I thought because you said find a new front end, I didn't realize you meant dev. So I thought it was like your front end stuff had gone awry in your project, but wow, that's even worse. Okay, so let's do. Oh yeah, I do test this as well. Okay, I just need to BRB 1 second. I need to go and grab coffee, and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Um, Losing developers that you rely upon is a tough one. Um, so, well, I hope your quest to replace is a quick one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create. I'm going to look at test containers and see if test containers has a Mongo. Well, yeah, it will do. We'll be able to do it. Because if I can do this right, then what I can do is I can set up this same code almost and validate the same thing so that I don't have to use the Mongo instance that I have. So what I do is go to test containers, get started. No, I don't want Java. Get away. Does that move me to .NET? Yeah, it does. Okay. Huh. That's interesting. Um, Modules, MongoDB. There we go. So yeah, we just need a MongoDB container. So add test containers MongoDB. We can test all sorts of stuff through this. This is awesome. Well, if you have 3 years of experience with React and are willing to relocate, we might have a job for you. In the near future, this is actually It's unrelated, but jog my memory. In the near future, I do want to pick up React and have a look again and see if now having a few more years of messing around with other technologies and getting a little bit deeper on Angular and stuff will help me like React more than last time I touched it. Um, it is um, it is a library I just want more visual on an understanding of before I, because obviously using Angular, you are um, how do I put it? You're not always your skill set isn't always used because a lot of companies use React. Although I have seen a lot more companies actually saying, "Hey, Vue, Angular, React, or some similar client framework. They don't have an issue with you being on a different framework because you can work within it." I think that shows me a company that kind of understands it, right? It's not all. Yes, they're not all the same, but in the same, they're not all. Um, okay, so we need um, extensions hosting here. But you can the skill sets can transfer between. I think it's good to see a company that understands that. I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be trying to offload your colleagues. That's not a good sign. Hmm, that's interesting. Okay, so we do MongoDB builder with image. So we need Mongo image, right? Docker image name dot parts. That's interesting. What's that in there? Oh, Java. That's why. With image. Um, Docker. I'm being honest. I don't think I want a dev that people want to offload. I'll touch the backend code if you don't want. He'll touch the backend code if you don't want him to. What am I thinking about here? Yes. So I do have test containers running. Yes. He paves his own path. Hmm. Independent thinker, doer. As well. Yeah. No monoliths here. Well, DB. Updated 14 hours ago. What version is it on? Gotta get my brain around reading this. Nano server. Mongo 8. Need to import an HTTP view. It's also the right package to download. Do you want to work in 80 plus repos for each review? 80 plus repos. I'd love to see what that looks like and what the development path looks like. Wow. What tells you the latest version of? Like, I know the tags should do, but the tags clearly don't do because 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 7. Ah, hey Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh, how you doing? 80. My team can't manage 8. I'd be genuinely fascinated to understand that development process. Like, um, I'm good, Kenny. How are you? Can I get a mentor? Oh, joke. I don't mean the requirements. Ask me that question. I will lift the current and I will answer you. Okay. Angular front end dev. I'm horrible. What? How do you figure that one? Okay. I don't need to pull the latest version, but hold on. I just pulled Mongo, didn't I? Mongo community server latest. Can I do that? Yeah. Let me do this. Oh, just randomly paste everything in. What do I do here? Ah, I pulled the entire thing. That's fine. So if we go over to here, go to Mongo, just do that. It'll be fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. There you go. Can a dev crack interviews without DSA? Data structures and algorithms? I had the great idea to tell my PO we could need an audit view to show the audit data to the support department. Now I'm doing it. Yeah. Does anybody else hear PO and think parole officer first instead of product owner? Is it just me being weird? I believe it depends on the company and what they're looking for. That's why I say nothing from my side. I think you're projecting. Okay, just checking. Nope, nope, nope. Um, PO bots for me. Okay, okay. So I've got a problem. Um, so full disclosure, I watch a lot of crime procedural stuff. Like I love anything that's crime stuff. So yeah. To be honest, he's really tired of prepping TSA every 1 to 2 years. Do you mean data structures and algorithms, or I'm not sure what the acronym is? Do you mean that, Gilgamesh, by the way? Oh, okay, so we're going to reference the event publisher. It's technically my project, and I get only paid when I have something to do. So as soon as I get nothing to do, I'm out and need to find a new project. Ah, like yeah, data structure. Okay. Question for the chat: would you rather have to deal with a product owner or parole officer? Life of a consultant. Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, so sample event exists in a shared library because why keep making the same events? This is where it gets a little bit different. Get required service. I'm not sure this is going to work the way I want it to do. Let's do reference MongoDB. I suppose this is going to be the first test of whether factory works, so that's going to be interesting. And then we need to uncheck, undo all this. Add Kafka. So we import that one. And then we're going to use MongoDB outbox. kind of see a if you're a product owner, same. I'm sorry, I'm totally out of it. It's all good. Nothing to be sorry for. Get lazy show up everywhere currently. Because I forget these leak code solutions and approach since we don't really use that kind of problem solving in project. So I get that if you're trying to get into a role, that companies have this tendency of throwing those things at you. Um, I mean, for me personally, I've kind of hit a point where I'm not being asked that sort of stuff often because I'm not applying to dev roles specifically. Um, and I just try and keep up with the technology I'm looking for, right? Companies ask for all sorts of weird stuff when they're interviewing to try and weed out people. I mean, if you're going for a job that requires a lot of that sort of stuff, if you're going for, I don't know, research jobs or jobs that require a lot more heavy math and stuff, then maybe. If it's a high, uh, huh, yeah. I mean, the sort of jobs I'm going for, I'm not seeing that. So Mongo DB container. Been working for 27 years now. I mean, I suppose depending on which industry you're going into, you might need more understanding of some of that stuff, but I don't think it's, yeah. If you're going for web roles, like building websites, um, I don't know why that would be relevant. Okay. Outbox MongoDB sample. Okay, so that's where you go. Outbox MongoDB sample. So let's run this and see how far we get. I expect it to fail, but this is my validation that the outbox is going to run at least. And yeah, let's go. I am liking the idea of using test containers though. This makes a lot of sense. Yep. Okay. Unable to resolve IDB context factory. Hmm. Now, what level are you going for there, Gilgamesh? If you're doing T instructions and algorithm stuff, I think it's kind of good that we have another path for people who haven't uni diplomas to get into work like leak code. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any formal education, um, which things like that I worry about people asking me that sort of stuff. Um, because I don't chase leak code stuff. I hate doing leak code things. It's just not interesting, and I rarely have to do that. And if I have to solve a problem, let me solve a problem and figure out how at the time. Yeah, I have 3 years of experience as senior dev. Well, associating time with seniority is a whole challenge in itself. Is the system designing to be more important these days, or is this a different level of position? Different level of position. I mean, turns out my disk is silently failing and files are becoming corrupted. Second time it happened this week. First time I deleted some files from the project repo, but I was able to get them back easily. This time it actually ruined the Git folder. Now I'm scrambling to pack up everything before anything else gets ruined. Oh my goodness, no. That's bad. Actually, I talking of that, there was a streamer I was watching yesterday, and I talked about oh my incessant control S. I tend to sit there and I'll actually hold control and hit S. You won't hear it on stream, but I do it a lot. And when I was in Godot, if I let off control a little bit and hit S, I will put everything in scale mode. So I had to turn off the scale mode keyboard shortcut. But it reminded him to save. Um, and he hadn't saved in over an hour of doing work in Blender. And he said he doesn't commit very often either. And he went away for a period of time, and he hadn't committed anything. So the work he wanted to do while he was away, he couldn't code. Um, so he commits like every month. Like, that's a big risk to do that. Um, and your hard drive, if you didn't commit and push to Git, and push is the important part, not just commit to Git, because if it's local, it's still at risk. But pushing your code off of your machine, that is why GitHub, Git is specifically very important. Um, Maybe for a fresh candidate, I think leak code is so boring. If you love that, great, do it. But I think I do poorly at leak code despite knowing a fair bit of algorithms because it's so uninspiring. Uh, I just think that I've managed to do a lot in my career without actually studying that stuff, and my brain doesn't. My brain works very differently. I get that, so I just solve a problem as I need to and learn what I need at the time. My route into dev was a convoluted one. I was a hobbyist dev. I got known as a bit of a techie in my org. I was in a call center. I got asked if I wanted to be involved in a project as an end user voice for designing some new software. I said yes. A couple of years doing requirements gathering and projecty stuff. Then I got asked if I wanted to help test as it was getting built. Then I moved in test and stayed there for 7 years while gaining knowledge from working closely with app, then creating an app to help peers out and eventually led me to get a proper dev role. That's an awesome journey, though. I mean, I think what you bring there, Chris, is a lot of experience on asking questions, on building an application properly, understanding the requirements of it. Those are skills that devs do sometimes lack when they've gone the more technical route. I think it's great to know that I could lose my machine and not lose a lot. Yeah, and create an app to help you. If you have restless leg syndrome, you should put a button by your foot that hits save. I do actually have a foot pedal, but I use it for gaming so that I can trigger Discord, mute, etc. Hey, it's coding. How you doing? Business and customer knowledge. Yeah, when I started. I actually worked as my job title was actually analyst, not actual programmer. And I spent those 5 years actually talking to people, gathering requirements, understanding what they needed, sitting with them and working with them. So I think that path definitely got me a lot more insight into how people work or don't work. Right? We had a guy that recently, his previous experience was working in a warehouse. I'm very satisfied. My boss is open for these unconventional kind of. That's awesome. That's really good. Um, yeah, doing fine. How are you? What are you working? I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Emma. So today I am working on my Liquid Sky application, which is my agile project management platform thing. um, I lack some descriptions for it because there's so much to do. Right now, what I'm working on is I have an outbox pattern for my Kafka library, and I've recently started this new changes component. I'm using Mongo, and I don't want to use a SQL database to deal with publishing. I want to be able to use the same MongoDB for the outbox for this. So I need to add in the ability for my Kafka library to publish its messages to Mongo as well as SQL Server. So that's what I'm testing right now. Um, We have a thing in my org called Tap into Talent, which allows people to potentially move into areas internally they, on paper, have no proper right to, but gives employees a chance to do something else they excel. That's a really good plan. Um, I suppose it encourages people to grow. It gives them the opportunity to know that the company will back them up. I like that. Sorry, I just moved stuff on my desk. No, not that Excel. So the problem here is this Mongo. I don't think MongoDB supports. So as much as I'd love to say this works, use MongoDB outbox, register, configure it out, add transient. Did I remove those pieces? I think I removed those pieces. MongoDB outbox factory. I think I removed the context factory piece, didn't I? Where's the context factory piece in the SQL Server version? It's the extensions. Yeah, I removed it from there. Okay, so we need to put that back in. Extensions there. So that's that. Because I think in reality what you do is you do services.add MongoDB outbox DB context because we need the configuration. Yeah. The connection string though should carry it. Excel is great for what it is. I work for a company built around Excel. Access is too. I mean, I have built an Access application before. That's the one and only time I built anything that was even remotely like that. I'm rolling off my mat at the moment. I think this is going to be a challenge. So, configuration options, string database name equals Kafka. Well, the collection is one thing. Oh, this needs a database name. Yeah, I can't specify that by default. I wouldn't use either as DB as higher concurrent high-low scenario though. I'm missing the kind of rad tooling of old. We waste so much time now on garbage. Eh. Old COBOL rad environment they built predecessor on what I'm working on was great. So when the beginning of when I was learning um, um, Delphi. Delphi 2. Oh, Delphi 4. Oh, that's all fancy. Delphi 7. Wow, I never got that. I only got to Delphi 3. But yeah, I started back in these days when. But you can definitely see where C sharp, the C sharp influence, or Turbo Delphi, VB, etc. Those tools. I started back then. But the RAD development environments or rapid application development. They're in PHP though. If you want to see my oldest PHP, what's it called? SourceForge. Um, what's it called? They renamed it. Yeah, I got Ball and Delphi 2 on the cover of PC format and spent my summer working in it. Then went to school and they were like, they opened the book. Okay, we're going to learn about programming today. Joy. Um, Vapor Saturn Rare, thank you very much for the follow. I apologize for not catching that. Don't glance across. Welcome in if you're still around. Hope you're well. Amity Framework is my oldest project. Last update 2015. Nice. This is a MVC in PHP from 2010. It's my oldest PHP. Gotta go. Thanks for the stream. Mojo, have a great day. Thank you very much for hanging out in the chat. So I wonder if I can do that. Because if I can use the factory, that's awesome. Right? Because that would mean that's possible. New outbox configuration options. So we need connection string database name. And what's the difference there then? Oh, I'll pass in the options. Okay, so from this perspective, we need that, and then we need test database. That should mean we don't need to have any real app settings. There I'm doing Kafka. So that's probably do need configuration. So if you're new to the stream, basically, I'm working on a large application, so it's hard for me to just say what's going on. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, if you think I'm doing something wrong, if you think I'm doing something poor, I'd love to know. Right? I'm happy to learn. If you want to know more about what I'm doing specifically, you can ask. Otherwise, yeah. What I'm working on right now is adding the outbots implementation to MongoDB from my application so that I can utilize this on the other side. What we're hoping for here is no failure, because this should now add the DB context factory. If it works, that's awesome. But it's not going to work, is it? Cannot access a dispose context instance. What? Why would you fail there? Why would you fail there? So the factory is valid. Okay, stop running that. Using test containers is just something I will lean more and more into. Okay, so do we have a factory? We do. We have a pool. We have a context. The property outbox message event body could not be maxed to as of type object. Right? And that's not an object. What? Which is not supported primitive type or a valid entity type. So the normal entity framework rules apply. That would be terrible if I have to serialize that out. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's like, why bother? You're serializing an object. Like it seems so the problem I have with that is it seems redundant to JSON serialize an object inside of an object that's going to get serialized to a document. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it just feels wrong. Like I should be able to pass an object in there and it work. MongoDB entity framework core store object. It might be something I can tell it to deal with. Write date to MongoDB. Insert. This is going to tell me very much. Okay, so save changes is still a thing, so it's probably that causing the problem. In the name of moving on from it, and this library, by the way, if you've not seen this library is actually fully available. This is open source. This is a component that is available to everyone. Not that you might want to use it, but it's still there if anyone does want to use it. SQL Server outbox, is it in here? Yeah, okay. So we need to put so the model needs to be a string again. I dislike that, but I'm going to leave it as our event body because I think actually that makes a little bit more sense. Let's go and get the serializer parts back. So that's post async. Yeah. And that one. What's the difference there? Post async key event or topic. Okay, so those are identical, but the challenge is that I can't just call one. That there is a slight difference in the topic. So yeah, ads are going to start in a minute. I apologize if you get stuck in them. This needs to be deserialized now, right? Because that needs to be back to an object. That's going to work because it's just going to take event as T event anyway. So it's going to treat it as thing. So I need to go back here, deserialize that back out. Message to event body. Okay, well, let's try that now. Impressive. It almost kind of worked. Executed MQL query. That sounds terrifying. That output message count 2. Okay, so it did put 2 messages in there. Oh no. I know why. Not there. There. What was I doing? What did I change? I changed something. App settings. That's why. Let's try it. Let's test that again. Oh no. So two messages do get in there, but the challenge is error while publishing message backing off for 20 seconds. It's not reading it back properly is the problem there. So if I go to here and go to retrieve next message, right? What this will do is go in here, go in there. SQL message. Clear. I can't imagine the work they have to do to put Witano, thank you very much for the follow, by the way. Hope you're well. To make Mongo behave like an entity framework, those interfaces must be brutal. So if you haven't seen it before, the way this is what this is doing is when I add a message, I keep the interface for event publisher, so I can inject the event publisher, and when I add the outbots in, it puts it into a data table, and then processes it in a different thread. The benefit is I have that resilience of my application doesn't fall over if the message can't be published to Kafka, because if Kafka's unavailable, my outbox just builds and grows, etc. The application treats it as if it's going to be there. You do need to understand that. You need to be aware of what that means, because you might actually expect information to be there, but it's not there because it's delayed. It's eventually going to be there once things run properly. So you're kind of hoping for the best case, but you have to understand that the worst case can happen. So the problem here is, let's see, we have an event, right? So there's our sample event that's deserialized, and we call return our message, right? So we retrieve next message, and the actual outbots publisher, no, outbots service here. So this should hit here now. Message is set. Then we publish the message. So we have a MongoDB outbox message sample event. Oh, what? That's why. It should be sample event. What did I change there? What did I change? Make SQL outbox message. Current. What? So we'll create a new SQL outbox message to return an IOutBox message, which returns an IOutBox. Okay, so that is right. And then our publisher, no, our service publishes a message, which gets in here. Okay, yeah, it gets in here. Try it again. Okay, so we get in to the build. We know that works. We get here. Should now get here. Okay, so we get the type. So our type is sample event. Our method. So again, A lot of this relies upon the generics, so it's kind of figuring out the generics time and time again, um, just to make sure it can go back and forth. So again, we're invoking this publish event. If you don't publish it this way, then it doesn't know. When here, Kafka configuration. Ah, that's why we have no configuration. Our configuration is bad. I'm going to feel foolish because watch this. Um, if you want, if you actually want things to, I don't know where the content is always required, but you actually need to put it into the output directory so it can read the configuration. Things should work a bit better now. In fact, I'm so confident I'm going to take all the breakpoints away once I hit the first one. There I go. So this is checking on a schedule. It's checking the actual, is the outbox ready, which is why it's running in a background process. If you have to pause and wait for that in your normal process, then that's going to be sticky. The proof that that's working is if I go here and I go to topics, I can see that the sample product messages were created 40 seconds ago. So the outbox, the MongoDB outbox is working there. So what we do now, so as far as the actual code here goes, what I'm actually validating is, okay, can I serialize the object to the store? Can I retrieve the content from the store, right? That's all I really care about. Everything else is the behavior is generic. It works based upon I've got a message to publish. If that fails, that's part of the Kafka components themselves. So the things that are going to change here is I'm going to be able to say, okay, add an outbox publisher to Kafka and use MongoDB outbox instead of using SQL outbox. And what I can do is I can actually break out the publishing to a separate component again. So I can actually have a service that's dedicated. If the resources climb too high within a service, I can actually break that out and just run this piece independently. Um, so it is a bit more flexible. So because as I was saying before about being good on those commits, yeah. What I could do there is commit frequently and squash when I'm done. But discipline. Introduce MongoDB outbox implementation. That's definitely my practice now. I need to be more disciplined on that. I need to not do this. The problem is when I'm in the mindset of I'm exploring, and good morning by the way, I'm exploring the concept and trying to make things work, etc. I don't think about the commits. I'm more thinking about, okay, well, it's not got any value yet. It's not working yet, right? So it's quite the change to my working mentality to switch up to the small commits. But that being said, right? Um, it does mean that now I'm not very descriptive over what it's going to do because I'm introducing MongoDB outbox implementation. Um, it's pretty much the same. Commit push. So on the server side of this now, so again, if you are interested at all, these extensions are available here. Go away. SQL outbox. Don't do this again. Okay, Soul Link's getting removed. I am tired of that crashing. If I alt tab away as I go to commit something, it will pretty much always fail, which now means the only way I can get it back is to kill Ryder and restart the entire thing, which is frustrating. Kafka extensions. It'll work now. If I push it now, it'll work fine. That's been my experience so far. You see, the commit kind of partially went through. Introduce MongoDB bots implementation using Mongo. Like that's what it should do. But I've had it, if I alt tab, which I have a tendency of doing once I hit commit, it seems to crash. Okay. And yes, I did just make all those commits on my main branch. I'm just winning at practices today. We'll update the README in a second. Exactly. So what I need here, actually, let's do this. Let's do the README. README, go down here. Starting to get big enough that probably should consider a wiki over this. MongoDB outbox. You can another option. Yeah, it did work. And it actually picked up database name. Nice. That's cool. Okay. Update README. Include maybe directions. As simple as they are. One of the things I don't often ask, and I'd be interested to know, is has anybody or is anybody using Kafka? I hear about it in organizations. I see it in resume job things, but I don't know of anybody that's come in the stream really. Well, Trap has said Trap has said that he uses or has used Kafka before, but not necessarily had the greatest of experiences with it. Other than that, I'm not sure of anybody else that's actually done anything. Hi, I have. Hi, Laura. How are you doing? What's your experience so far of Kafka? And how I'm using it, does it gel with what you've done, or does it differ from what you've done with it? Outbox, MongoDB. That's it, pretty much. Um, if you're not careful, Mr. Jones, one day we're going to have a stream on here's how you can use different technologies, starting with PHP. I was able to make it useful, but there was too many catastrophic edge cases and issues for my taste. There you go. This was 5-ish years ago, so maybe it's a bit better, but it was mature at the time. Good morning, by the way, Trap. Maybe to pull you out of luck. um, yeah, I mean, it's been around long enough now that, yeah. And I'm hoping that once I get to, so my plan for this right this second is, again, using these technologies, learning a little bit more, growing a little bit, is once I get to the point where it's testable and I can get it deployed to a Kubernetes cluster of some form locally, that I can actually have people test it for database replication. Okay, so are you actually using Kafka Connect in there and using CDC? Are you actually having services hooked up and kind of what I'm doing with integration? Okay, so there we go. Add package build to um, flow. It's very interesting. I think the thing I like most about Kafka so far is that if I'm using it the way I'm using it, I don't have to know all the use cases for the data that I have ahead of time. Um, I can I can worry about things like the changes stuff. I can worry about these after building other things because I'm just publishing the data. So to the rest of the system, doesn't matter. Does some downsides in so much as if I need some piece of data in one service that I don't need in another service, I have to kind of rationalize that and change the entity. Um, and getting to schema and stuff is going to be something that I want to do um, eventually. Yeah. Okay. So that should get pushed. Why is that on the tag? Me. 6 minutes ago. Okay. And then we should be able to create release. We'll create create the SQL outbox implementation in April. Drafting release. So I'm always interested because I see a lot of here's how Kafka works. I think we're almost like I think I should consider using a full version number at some point. Um, I've used Kafka for several years. I've tinkered, I've learned, I've grown. Um, I don't see a lot of examples of what people mean when they say events, so I kind of interpret it the way I do. Um, yeah, seeing or understanding someone else's implementation would be interesting. The way I learn it is that it is like a live flow of data. Yeah. Introduce Mongo DB outbox. API. Let's say more than that. if people start using the library, then obviously release notes become a bit more of an important thing. I use it with Java, which is more of its natural its natural home, I think, with Java. Because although the low level stuff, I know the actual communication stuff is all based on the C library, C++ library. Java seems to be the most common language. And the stream stuff was all built on Java. Um, I'm just glad there's a C sharp version available now, or even if it is third party. Okay, so they're going to publish away. I don't have it available right now, obviously. I fail at Markdown. It doesn't change the release. The README doesn't go with the release, so fine there. But I fail at Markdown. Um, correct. Markdown issues. Push. Yeah, Mongo. Kafka is something that I've enjoyed using a lot of because it's again in the businesses I've used it in so far, they have a long track record of having multiple systems need to get information and their databases connecting to each other and sharing that data and external resources accessing that data. Whereas if we can say, okay, well, we want it in Snowflake, okay, here's a connector or here's an actual stream to Snowflake, and just push that data in there. It just makes life easier. So back to changes. I'm going to do a little bit more of this today. So again, day off work, so don't need to worry about the time. And as always, if anybody has any questions, thoughts, or opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free. I'm not. I genuinely mean that, by the way. I know I say it like it's some sort of just lying at this point, but I genuinely mean if you actually have opinions on what I'm doing, if you think I'm wrong on something, I want to learn. Right? I'm not perfect. I don't know. I don't know 100% about everything I have. If it's PHP related, I can ban you. I have the power. I'm sure you can Google that. So the beauty of this is now what I can do is I can inject, so I can send this message. um, it's all good. In here, I can build this up. That name is the worst name. Just people trying to be funny when they created it, right? I mean, it's the same sort of thing now these days where people create like um YAML and things like that. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Another reverse proxy. People just being like, oh, well, we'll just lean into the fact that it's another implementation, or it's different, or we don't actually have a name. So this publish changes actor lives inside a planning items. I can proceed with this because I can use event publisher. I'll need before I can actually do that. I'll need to configure Kafka here. So this is one of the weird cases where I'm actually both consuming and publishing from using Kafka. Normally, I'm either publishing or consuming. This is one where I'm actually going to combine the two pieces. The consumer works again. It creates a background process and it sets up a task for each one of these receivers. These are set as long running tasks, and they listen at the same time. GNU. Or new. I think the G silent in that, isn't it? Oh, by the way, if you're an XLR mic and you're ever considering buying a cloud lifter because you need to boost its volume a little bit. Um, my I so my daughter has a mic where the USB died on it, but it does have XLR as well. So I tested it through my equipment, and I'm not buying her a. Um, um, right now, I've got stuff going through the cloud lifter into a Scarlett Focus. Yeah, GNU's not GNU's not Unix, yes. Um, and so I bought her a cheaper interface, a $50 interface for the XLR to USB, and it was super quiet. So I plugged the cloud lifter into it, and it got more reason. It was like, okay, it makes a market difference. So like, I'm not giving her the cloud lifter because I need it. I use it. So I'll look at alternatives. And I got this Mic Booster CM1 off Amazon. It was $50 again. And it, for the most part, you won't know the difference. So it's a third of the cost, unless you're a complete audiophile who understands the every little nuance of audio. I don't think you'd notice the difference between the cloud lifter and the CM1. So there's my tip for the day. So what I want to do here is in this, I basically want to turn around and say event publisher dot publish async. Now this is going to take. We're gonna have to, what do we need to know here? What do we need to know? We need to know the event, the key of the event. So that's going to be interesting. And then the event itself. So this is going to be new planning item change event, right? The change type is going to be calculated based upon that. Did I actually make that? Actually did do it, didn't I? Yes. It's one of those times where I don't think constructor arguments look good. And then the changes. And that. What did I actually make them in here? Default change event, change type. Oh, I didn't actually express the change. That's why. If I do public iDictionary string object, will that do what I want to do? So that's grid.new grid. Planning item, change event, change type. Oh, yeah, I didn't do it that way, did I? I just did that. And then set. That works. So I need the entity ID. Public period entity ID, because that needs to be message entity ID. Now what it'll do this is it'll take the type of planning item change event, and I've already added it to the lookup. So if we go over to here, I've already added the lookup to say, okay, well, this is going to go to planning item changes. So I'm going to do updates and creates, etc., and deletes, etc., inside of one stream. In Kafka, the way they suggest representing a delete is by sending a null object with the key of the entity. We'll get to deletes later because I haven't even got anywhere near delete. That might require some overhaul, but we'll see. Deflux, how is it going? Good morning. Nice of you to stop in. Good coffee. I read your reply to my question. Okay. Got a lot of thinking to do. Okay. So let's change this, move to folder, change application, messages. You bring up a great point, the kind of SQL performance. So this one is going to be tell. It's a publish change event. That is a publisher dot new publish message. What points particular are you thinking about? Uh, entity ID equals event dot identifier. Rider does not like yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? I'm not sure this is gonna be what I wanted to do, but we'll find out. Can I do that? No. Is new is false. That's gonna be inferred anyway. I need to protect that. Why are you even offering it? Yeah. Not constructible. Yeah. A tuple there might not make sense, but it's before and after. That's what I'm trying to represent. I'll worry about the structure of it later on once I've used it a bit. So the idea here is what's going to happen is the process is going to take it. It's going to identify if the object exists. If it does, it's going to try and update it, get the update. If it doesn't, it's going to say publish and it's going to go through the new one, right? And this should go through Kafka. So what I need to do now is it's there as well. Ugh. Okay. So we can I need to add the others in though, that's the problem. Dependencies. Let's manage them all. Upgrade everything to version 11. This went really poorly last time. Looks like that worked better this time, though. Okay, that worked better. So we're going to install the MongoDB outbox. And then I'm going to go here, add MongoDB. So this, knowing that I can use the factory, I don't know whether I need to use the add MongoDB because it might be cleaner. I don't know. Back my browser crash. Yeah, I assume that having SQL well organized with foreign keys would greatly improve performance. No, we kind of went through this last time, and I don't think there's a big performance benefit. If anything, it's actually more costly because there's more index created. And foreign keys become it's more of a programmatic problem than an actual database integrated problem. It's that coding and doing migrations and things becomes a lot harder, and you run into problems all the time. So people tend to move them out of the way. Even our DBAs move them. They don't use foreign keys, and they'll actually remove them if you add them. But yes, they have like 55% of all business logic inside store procs. I mean, that's a danger. Depending on if they've got the workflows in place, because it used to be that obviously, in here in data grid, I have full Git control, right? So my project is actually the same project as this project, right? So if I have code directories in here, I can actually commit the scripts in here as well and work with them. Yeah, Redgate. Yeah, Redgate version control. Redgate tools are very good. They've been around for a long time now. I think I put our DBA previous place onto them because I used different Redgate tools, not SQL related. Yeah. SVM. Yeah. But it's still a challenge managing your code inside of SQL. Um, I mean, it's also if you've got business logic, your application then um, is basically just an interface to the database. The database is the business logic. If it's not, then you've got some in the database and some in your code. It gets harder and harder. So that's store procs I don't like. They're based not too far from where I am, a couple of hours away-ish. Yeah, Reggae's been around for a long time. They're good company from past experience. Um, yeah, to me, since they have no structure to the data and then they have tons of small databases rather than one or two databases, they have like 20 with like 8 tables in each. This basically precludes using Link and EF, which to me is part of the selling point of Blazor. If you need to join those 8 databases or 20 databases together, that's a nightmare. If they've kind of done what I've done, right? Where these databases are they all have a few tables. They have the tables they care about. But when it comes to that, oh, that's not good. My stuff is at least separated. Realistically, these are just data stores. These don't have data you query. All the data gets pushed to the view database. So the view database has all the tables. And that's where the queries lie. Right. So yeah. Hmm. So the benefits of this is if you're working on the attachments component, you can work solely on the attachments component with the attachments data isolated. You don't actually need any other data. And again, these databases, in this instance, I'm not sure about your instance. It sounds like if you have to query across the cross database joins, then you've got a data separation problem, right? Gone up a creek without a paddle now. I believe EF sucks and no one should use it. Mm, yeah, the way they have set up. Yeah, you've that's gone. I could make some assumptions about the kind of people that develop the application. Um, Entity framework doesn't suck because it doesn't support your requirements. It's your requirements are wrong. Do not use link anywhere. Not sure why people use link. Okay. And most of the people you're working with primarily database developers, by any chance? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's I spoke a bit about the code first versus data first. Database first is the only way. Yeah. Sounds like you might have your work cut out for you in turning things around. Okay, so we need to go in here and we need to add outbox publisher, right? And this is configure use MongoDB outbox, and then host builder context dot configuration dot get connection string changes. I'm not going to worry too much about the using the same database server for. I'm not going to use a different MongoDB um, for changes versus the actual outbox, but I'm going to create a different collection. Why do you have so many small databases? Why not one? Well, how do I put it? I've spent I've spent many years working in monoliths, right? I've worked in large databases, um, in the terabytes size. I've seen what happens to the schema. I've seen what happens to the database tables. I've seen how things kind of flow over time. So when I started this project, I was more, I'm gonna see what it feels like to do it this way, right? So the individual components of the system. So I'm not going microservice here. This is not microservice. This is more modular monolith. The individual components of the system can store the data they need to have, right? And I'm gonna lean heavily into the whole CQRS. So command and query are separated, right? Given that, my data stores just have to validate data, make sure that they make sense to that data store, and store that data, and then publish the integration event. So I'm never querying these databases in any meaningful way other than, well, in any way other than checking if something exists. I don't need to do very much in here. This does give me the ability to know what data is core to the system. So this data, planning items might exist in other schemas, but the planning item as it stands, there's only one place where it's true, right? So it's here. The benefit of this is that my code and my database, I mean, they do align still in terms of how I'm organizing the code, but it means I can focus on a single component of the system and not have any conflict with any other part of the system, right? I don't have to have understanding of any other component. So from a maintainability perspective, if I'm working with planning, I'm working with the one schema. I don't have any data that I could miss. Again, foreign key relationships, I don't need, if I have external data, right? So planning items has a tenant, right? That's a public, that's a shared identifier. I don't have, there's no lookup in this database to tell you what that tenant name is, right? There's no way of getting it from here. Assign user, you'll see the GUIDs all over the place, right? Associated projects, same way. Associated tickets. These are tables that are just giving me lookups to other things, because this database doesn't need to care about anything other than this data here, the planning item data that's specific for planning. All the foreign keys, the foreign key references, their databases have their data, right? So when I'm joining things together in the view, right, the data can kind of assemble and trickle in and be there that way. If I try to make this one big database, then I'd be reading and writing from it. And the challenge with that is, over time, no matter how good you are, one of those concerns takes priority. So your data schema starts to adapt to the read requirements, or it starts to adapt to the write requirements, and then gets a more complicated schema. Developers do it all the time, right? You end up adding the indexes in because it's too slow, but then you have a conflict because you're writing to the database heavily. So what do? Right? So the way this is built, I don't actually have to worry about that because I'm writing to these databases and publishing their data, and that's been integrated in the view. So the view database can be heavily optimized. I can change the schema around. I don't have to worry about this. If I want to create a different UI, if I want to create a new version of the UI, I can port all this data into a new database schema and build a completely different look to the same application, and then consume the same events and actually have two parallel applications using the same data, and they can still update using the same APIs. So it does give me a lot of advantages in that respect and a lot of options down the line. So um, that's the path I'm going down, right? Whether it works or not in the long term, you know, it's it's a relatively new way for designing applications to me, but I'm so far it mentally fits. I'm comfortable with the patterns. Um, right, but what's stopping you from just using the same database with a different schema? Yes, that is an option. I could use a schema instead of just using DBO, which is the most common way. I could use one database in different schemas. That is an option. Um, immunoelectrotherapy, electrophoretically. I could do that. There's nothing stopping me, and I'm just doing it this way for now because it gives me that option. I did investigate because obviously I've got tenancy and stuff. Um, I investigated some tenant stuff, but yeah, that's not the first time that's come up. It's just for right now, there's very little difference there. No worries. Um, well, second person to complain about crash browsers. Um, yeah. So right now it just works to do it this way, but yeah, I could actually have them as schemas under a single database, but it's not really. This way as well, doing it this way is just a personal choice because I can look at them, right? Management in the end. Sito said he feels guilty if he doesn't pronounce people's name properly, so I put him to the test. Immunoelectrophoretically. Um, I don't feel guilty. I feel that if you feel that I mispronounce your name, then you're more than happy to tell me. I'm more than welcome to tell me a better way of to how to say it so that I can pronounce it correctly. I don't want to offend anyone, but in the same, I'm not feeling guilty about it. So, I mean, Deflex, I hope that answers the question a little bit. Um, to me, this is working really well. This pattern is working very well. It does rely upon Kafka. So if you need if you need instant read on the client, right? There's things you have to consider and accept. And I don't care what people think customers want. A customer can deal, and you deal with it all the time in software you use, in applications you use, you deal with this issue. Once you disconnect these two things, right? So if I say, hey, I want to update, unless this data gets through here, if you go to query it, it's going to give you the old version back, right? So there's that level of eventual consistency where eventually things will be consistent, but not necessarily immediately, right? And the pushback I normally have is, well, customers expect it to be there immediately. You can give them the illusion of immediately, right? They don't often care. They don't often notice. If it is a requirement, then yeah, you have no option. You have to design that way, but it's worth exploring. So there's allowances I have to make for in the client here. I have to, when I create an object, when I say, hey, create a planning item, it has to give me back an ID so that I know it's there, right? But because of the way I'm doing it, I'm just validating the objects, got the required data, doesn't break any rules. It's a pretty much straight shot to save. There's no conflict. There's no heavy load on that particular piece. I get the ID back quickly. And on the client side, I store the information I sent and attach the ID to it. So now I've got a copy of the data that they sent on the client. So as long as they don't refresh right now, again, patterns I'm learning about and growing into, as long as they don't refresh, they won't know that I didn't save it and didn't produce it from the server. They've got the object. They can navigate, they can change it, they can update it, they can do everything they want with that object on the client. And eventually, almost immediately, in most cases, when the system's working and scaled effectively, that data will be pushed down to them anyway. So that it'll make it through and it get into the GraphQL version and the data will be consistent. So this works really well from my experience so far in terms of how I feel about making changes to the system, how I feel about getting data from the system, and on all that. It does work very effectively. And obviously, I can scale these independently, right? If I have a heavy write load on one database, I don't have to scale the entire database just for one set of tables. I can scale them. I can make this a more beefy instance if I actually broke it out as instances, right? Again, exploring schemas, exploring different databases, exploring different database servers. I can have independent data stores, right? If I change again, the changes stuff that I'm doing right now, that's Mongo based, right? It's not SQL based. I have that option. I don't have to commit to getting into SQL. The reason I'm using Mongo, and I kind of went through this yesterday on stream, is I'm just storing a serialized version of an object to a database. So I just take the object and put it into the database. It has attachments and arrays and stuff like that. Mongo's just going to say, yep, okay, I'm good. I can save that. If I want that to be SQL, I've got to build a schema out. I've got to build migration scripts. I don't care about that. So Mongo works here, right? So I can change the technology of any one of these pieces. And ticketing originally was on Couchbase, now is on SQL. Might actually go back to Couchbase, but I can actually change the focus of the storage of one component of the system without worrying about everything else. Everything doesn't have to be on SQL, which gives me a lot of flexibility. And like I said, if I want to change the technology this is on, right? If I want to change how it works internally, as long as the API looks the same, I can build a new version and route my gateway to the new version and be happy. I could actually do A/B testing essentially with that as well, using it this way, because I could actually say, okay, well, we've got a new version of attachments. Let's send 50% of requests to the new one and 50% of the request to the old one, and validate, and or even ramp it up. You could say, okay, send 5% of all requests to the new stuff and validate it's actually doing what it should. And then we can say shift it over in the gateway. So the application doesn't care. It routes all the requests to the new attachment system, and then we deprecate the old one, right? Without actually switching it off. You can just deprecate it through calls. So there's a lot of flexibility in this, and there's a lot of options available to me. Okay, so we're going to use an outbox publisher.